Hello and welcome. I'm very excited to give you this review. This is the review of my motorcycle. It is a Honda CBR600RR and the colour, as you can see, is a vibrant orange Repsol replica colour. I'm going to go through a few of the specifications and things. I must apologise that the review has taken so long to come to fruition. I purchased the bike back at the end of May and I've used it all through last year, had a really nice summer on it. You must remember that I haven't been riding for that long. I had a similar bike to this, but it was a CBR125 and I made the leap from that to this. If you're thinking about doing that, I would suggest it. I didn't even test ride this bike. I just knew that it was the bike that I love and went and purchased it straight away. And I think everybody has that kind of bike. Buy the bike that you love the look of. I probably would suggest you go and demo a bike before sinking a lot of money into one. But that's another story. Anyway, I must first of all say that I purchased this bike from CJ Bull in Norwich. Give them a big thumbs up. They've helped me with all of my upgrades and things ever since. So without further ado, I'll go into the specifications. So straight away, here's the engine. It's going to zoom onto the engine, don't worry. The carburation is a PGM DSFI electronic fuel injection. The engine displacement in centimetre cubed, of course, is 599. The engine type is a liquid cooled 4-stroke 16 valve DOHC inline 4. The maximum power output is 88 kilowatts or 13,500 RPM. And the max torque is 66 Newton meters or 11,250 RPM. Now the dimensions and weight, it's, if you want to do it by millimeters, it's 2029 length, 684 width and 1115 height. The fuel capacity in litres is 18.1 and the fuel consumption is 56.5 miles per gallon. Now the ground clearance is 137 millimeters and the headlights are 55 by 55 watt H4 valve and the curb weight is 196 kilograms with the seat height being 823 millimeters. Great, now that's the boring part of the review over with. You actually get to hear me talk, and what I like to do is just say what I see. It's that classic kind of game show kind of thing. So what are we looking at here? Well, we're looking at the rear wheel. I have got a few upgrades and things on this bike. As you can see there, I've got on the lower left, I've got the what they're called stand bobbins by R&G, just something that the stand can go on. I prefer to have a stand that was all rubberized, but that's what it is. The large kind of like lump on the right is the crash protector. I've got axle crash protectors and you can see that big chain and sprocket there. We're looking at the on the top there is kind of like that's filled with nitrogen, so it's good if you're in a tight spot with a T1000. Just hurl that at him. No, I'm only kidding. Or near the nitrogen cylinder on the left, I've actually installed some R&G foot peg blanking plates. So if you don't like having the foot pegs on there, R&G do some for this particular bike. I haven't changed anything else there in that shot other than the lower left. I've got a kind of frame plug that I've put in there, and you can see on the lower right that I've got a little dice tire dust cap as kind of like my unique kind of modification. So I'm gonna throw in a little bit of what Honda says about the bike as well. They say that the bike features race ready shower big piston forks, which will be shown later on, and it's got lightweight 12 spoke wheels, which are similar to the ones on their CBR1000RR. It's got a revised rear shock, which gives more sensitive control and improves the stability and poise on the road. For that, I hold testament to that. The bike is very, very nimble. It's quite a big bike as well, quite wide. So if you're quite a big guy, this is kind of like the bike for you. It really does. You won't look silly on this kind of sports bike. Also, the ride position, it's not your typical kind of sports ride position either. You're not really cramped up, and you don't feel like it's a bit of a chore putting your foot down either at lights or wherever. Who am I kidding? I never put my foot down. They also go on to say that it's got 4 piston calipers with a grip of 310mm discs, give incredible stopping power. I've really slammed on the brakes a couple of times just to test it, and they are incredible. I haven't skidded. I've stopped in time. They're just what you want on all motorbikes. These brakes, they're incredible. It's got this electronic combined ABS, or EC ABS, which is super sport specific, and what it essentially does is if one disc brake is locking, it releases it a little bit, puts more pressure on the rear one, and then locks it up again, so you don't actually get it locking up, if you see what I mean. Now, on the bottom right of the screen there, well, I've got the crash protector there, an R&G one. It's important, if you get this bike, please try and refrain from drilling into that really expensive, oh, there I am, hi, that really expensive fairing there. Get the protector that, there is an adapter that you can get. It's a fair bit more money, but get the ones where you don't have to drill into the fairing. They're always pretty good, and they go onto the engine block itself. So try and get them. But the thing that I just removed there was my Arbus lock. I did an unboxing recently where I showed that. Now what you're looking at is kind of like towards the rear of the bike, the axle there, and I've got the frame plug and the Yoshimura like oil cap, just a bit of customization. I've also put a Repsol sock. You can get them, if you just type it in on the internet, you can get Repsol socks or any kind of socks to go over your brake fluid oil reservoirs relatively cheaply. It's not a necessity, but I think it looks a damn sight better than just having the horrible kind of coloured plastic that bikes have. Now I'll go on and carry on with a little bit of what Honda say. It's a compact 599cc liquid cooled 4-cylinder engine. It drives incredibly hard to its 13,500 RPM red line. Now you'll see in a moment that the red line starts from 15,000, but I'm assuming that at 13,500 things start to get a bit real. It says it's flexible and it punches out strong mid-range torque. Like a lot of super sports bikes, you can go in 6th gear and full lock on with the throttle, and you're not going to go anywhere that fast. But if you're in 2nd or 3rd gear, you will reach that red line as fast as you want to reach the red line. It can get quite edge of your seat kind of fast. I've never been on anything faster than this bike. It just blows your mind if you've been on like a 125 or 300 or anything like that. It's got a programmed dual sequential fuel ignition system. That's what the PGM DSFI stands for, and it's been remapped to deliver a sharper throttle response and feel. And the intake air control valve, or the IACV, attached to the throttle works over the whole rev range with greater sensitivity and control at high RPM. That's important. As you can see there, you've got a few stickers that I've put on myself. They come with the bike, so you don't have to pay for them. But it's up to you whether you want to put them on. That's kind of like the main kind of face of the bike there, where you've got your ignition. You can put your steering lock on. You've got the HISS, which is the Honda ignition security system. You've got the big show of forks there in the blue. As you can see there, those grips are slightly different than stock because they're heated grips. They're Honda heated grips as well. I've got my ASV levers. I've got the regular ones. I don't think they do long for this bike. They just do regular or short. I much prefer regular because the ideal world would be to have a short for the brake and long for the clutch, and I don't want to have a odd looking bike with one lever longer than the other. So I've gone for both regular. It works for me. It's, you know, it's going to be your bike, whatever works for you. But I've got the R&G bar ends. I did try some Yoshimura ones, but I felt that they were too light for the bike and affected my handling, affected the vibration that I could feel, whereas the R&G ones, I haven't changed them since I put them on. So although I've tried more expensive, supposedly better bar ends, the R&G ones are absolutely fine. I've never scuffed them up or marked them. What you're going to see now is the rear of the tail, the seat cowl that you have to pay extra for. I think it's about £100 or £200 extra, but I think it really goes well with the bike. And if you're removing your foot pegs, it's kind of a must. There I am again, just try and ignore me in this part of the video. I'll talk about some of the boot space that you've got, or real estate space. I put all my stickers inside, then they're protected and they don't peel off and go all funky. In there I've got an Arbus little pouch for my lock, but my lock doesn't sit in there. Actually my toolkit sits in that bag, so, you know, to protect the toolkit. And I don't know why I just stroked her there, but there we go. Now I'm going to just turn the motorbike on, and you'll hear what she sounds like. So as you can hear, this is what she sounds like. Fortunately, this is not stock. This is with an Akrapovic or Akrapovic. I much prefer saying Akrapovic because Akrapovic sounds like you're crapping in a ditch. But there's obviously, if you know motorbikes, that was the rear brake. I don't know whether it's LED. I don't think it is, but I don't really care. The exhaust is under the seat. That's all that matters with me. There's the little indicators. Again, they're not stock, they're R&G ones. I will be replacing them at some point, but they work for me at the moment. I think I'm going to give her some beans in a little moment, and you'll be able to hear what she sounds like under a bit of stress. So I hope that's helped. As you can hear, it's definitely a huge improvement over the stock, and if you don't have an Akrapovic, you really need to get one because it's such an improvement to your weight, the sound, everything. Just get one. So this is the dash. I've still got the engine running, and this is kind of what it looks like when you rev her up, give her some beans. There I've done 4,736. Being very conservative there with all the revs and things like that. She's running at 80 degrees centigrade, which is absolutely fine. She's done 4,736 miles at the moment today, it being February and this being shot about 3 or 4 months ago. It's now done over 6,000, and there's the little hiss light that comes on. There is a way of disabling the light, but the hiss will still be enabled. If you want to know how to do that, just put a message up, send me a message or whatnot, and I'll tell you how to do it. So this is the other side of the handlebars, the heated grip. I'll show you the operation of them. You hold the button and it starts flashing 3 times. Now that's gonna switch the heated grips on. They're gonna be, number 3 was the hottest. If you hold it again, it goes to number 2. Hold it a third time, it goes to number 1, and that's the lowest. It being February, all through January and February, I've had it on 3. But my gloves are quite thin, so if you've got thicker gloves, it's not going to scorch your hands as much. and then you hold it again and it will switch it completely off. And you have to do that every time you switch the bike on, which is a little bit annoying, but I suppose it's a safety feature. I'm just demonstrating the high beam and the passing there, and the horn. There we go. And so it's got all the bells and whistles and things, and it doesn't look as kind of childish, kind of toy-like as some of the other Hondas that are out there with the big horn button. I mean, it's everything's nice and neat and tidy, and it's not too confusing. I don't know what I'm doing here. Probably showing you the ASV kind of lever there. I'm not sure, but anyway. And this is just me kind of demonstrating how easy it is to move around. It's quite, yeah, it's almost 200 kilograms, but it's quite easy to move around in my opinion. It doesn't take too much effort. So back to like the main look of the bike. Well, it is a very eye-catching bike. Maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing. I think I'm going to zoom in on the brake fluid there and the heat shield. I kept that in very good condition, but unfortunately salt has started to affect some of that now, which is a crying shame. But you know, it's just one of these things, unfortunately. And this is the other side where you can see the kind of nitrogen tank there, and gives you another view. It's important to note that you know, the left side is slightly different to the right side. It's got a lot of electronics on the left. It's just a close-up of the wheel and the sprocket and chain. And I think I'm going to zoom in. I've got fork protectors there, as you can see, and I'm going to zoom in on the R&G foot shoe, which you should get one, definitely. I know it's £30, but it's always on your bike, and you don't have to try and find a plastic one or a can or a rock or anything like that. So that's one of the great upgrades that I bought. So in summary, this is my dream bike. It's a bike that I wanted for a long time, and there are many bikes that I could have chosen. I could have gone for a Fireblade or a CB1000, anything like that, but this just spoke to me. Not because it's orange, but because I like the look of the bike. Just everything about it just fixed in. It just slotted into position like a 1,000-piece jigsaw in my mind. The front, the forks, the tail, the exhaust, the swing arm, the tank, the seat, everything just made me want this bike. So that's why I got it. With the upgrades, I think you're looking at about 12 grand anyway, with the Akrapovic and things like that. Of course, you can keep adding to it, but I obviously, that biased review, I'm in love with this bike, and if anybody was thinking about getting one, yeah, I would go and demo one, but I just would pull the trigger straight away, because she has been such a dream, and she's a keeper. I don't think I'll ever get rid of her. So thanks ever so much for joining me for this special review. Thanks for watching. Take care.